it comes time to pay a bill, nobody wants to be the one that pays their bill. But you have to do what makes sense. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be nice if everything was just free and easy, but that all comes at a greater cost. And a lot of Hondas are made in America now, so I wouldn't be paying tariffs on that. China electric cars are the new wave. Might not be as fast, but comfort and accessories are better than Tesla, with being 50% less. Hey, that's what's up. Go for it, China. You know, that's I couldn't care less what they're doing over there. Enjoy. That's Elon's problem. That's his problem. That ain't my problem. I don't give a fuck what they're doing building cars in China. Go for it. Hey, make them cheaper. In fact, wouldn't it be nice if America copied China's work and ripped them off for cheap the way China rips our shit off for cheap? That'd be nice. We need a global economy and supply trade to maintain the goods we have at the current price. Americans don't want to work in factories making iPhones for $5 an hour. You're right, they don't, and they shouldn't. I have a hard time fathoming what kind of work would be worth $5 an hour in today's world. That don't get you shit. Fuck it, $3 for a soda, bro. A 20-ounce soda. $3. What are you gonna do $5 an hour? You can't mathematically live that way. We need a global economy and supply trade to maintain the goods we have at the current price. Listen, I believe that all of the nations are mostly acting in their own best interest, right? And that's capitalism. You know, you work in your own best interest. Now, Adam Smith had postulated that if everybody works in their own best interest, that creates the best possible outcome. I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but I don't necessarily want America to take L's for Canada to have cheaper prices. That's not my problem or business, respectfully. You know what I mean? Canada takes L's for Americans to have cheaper prices. Well, then you need better leadership. That's not on us. That's because you have whack leaders that can't negotiate on your country's behalf. We should just refine our gas here and sell it to USA for a profit. Go for it. Go for it. Well, the tariffs are 100% on you guys. Nobody in Canada wants those. Oh, yes. That is our doing. Yes, we did that. But that is up to you guys to produce leadership that can negotiate a better deal for you. We didn't have tariffs, and then we elected a businessman, and now we do. You guys keep electing fucking pussy politicians and getting bent over and then wondering what happened. You know, no offense to you personally. I don't know who you're voting for. I'm just talking about Canada as a whole. When was the last time you guys had a decent leader over there that had a fucking backbone? Who was it? It wasn't Carney. It wasn't Trudeau. So we're taking it back a ways. You know what I mean? Well, you have to have strong leadership. You need to have leaders that represent your country's best interests. You can't really put the same tariffs back on you guys without destroying our own economy. Right. Well, that's what I'm saying about having smart leaders. There's not much we can do. It's damned if you do and damned if you don't. I don't know that that's true. Canada's a very, very big country. I have to imagine that you guys have a lot of resources there, and probably your government's not doing a great job of maximizing life for its citizens. Our government's not either here in America. A lot of people are struggling. You know what I mean? But it's like, you know what an advocate is, right? But you're in favor of Trump using USA tariffs to enrich himself. No, to enrich America, not himself, America. Threatening tariffs on Vietnam, then removing them when they give a green light to a Trump report and golf course. I don't have any information about that. You know? The tariffs have brought in a lot of money. The tariffs have brought in quite a bit of money. All right? And in my opinion, I think the government needs to do more. We're putting tariffs on Switzerland, then removing them when they gift him some Rolexes and gold bars. Hey, look, Trump is an easy to flatter guy. All right? Why don't Canada send him some maple syrup or something and see if he can do something? Instead of complaining about how other people are working him, they should put somebody in charge who can work him. Do you know what advocate means? Like when you go to buy a house and you contract with your sales agent, they're advocating on your behalf. They're supposed to get you the best deal, not the other side. The other side has their own advocate. That's their fucking problem in business. Same thing. But you don't see that as wrong, using the force of the government to enrich yourself personally when it might negatively affect Americans? Well, one, I don't have any information on that, so I don't know that that's true. Okay? Two, Trump's not perfect. So if he is doing that, I would prefer he didn't. But the die is cast. He's there now. Using the force of the government to enrich yourself personally when it might negatively affect Americans? I don't think it's going to negatively affect Americans. You know, I think he's got a goal, and I think he's working within the parameters of how to achieve that goal. You know what I mean? Let's be real. Name me one global politician who isn't lining their pockets. Yeah, well, sure. I'm not saying, look, yes, I'm not going to write that off either, Rambo. I'm not going to say just because everybody's doing it that it's okay for him to do it. There is an objective integrity. There is an objective good. You know what I mean? So I understand your point where it's like some people might be trying to hold Trump to a higher standard than maybe they're holding other people to. I understand that. But I hesitate to hand wave something just because everybody's doing it. Pros versus cons. I think Trump has done the most for USA compared to any other president, even if he may benefit himself, but that's not hard to do considering his net worth. I agree. At least in my lifetime. Well, building a new house in the USA now costs $5,000 to $10,000 more just due to the cost of Canadian lumber. Yes, the price of lumber has never subsided after it was raised up over COVID. It has not come back down. You're right. And not for nothing, we need to build new houses in America. I am hoping that Trump makes some moves on that. I know his first year was a lot of foreign policy shit, but at the start of this year, he made some moves on housing, and they were important moves. But it wasn't the complete package. What we need for the housing market in America is more new constructions, which means the government, it would behoove them to incentivize new constructions. Okay? I would like to see him do something for that. If it was the same as Trump in his first term, I'd have no issues. Like I said, I would have voted for him based on his first term. But the tariffs and war in Iran are going to have very bad consequences. I don't know that I agree with that. I think the tariffs are a good thing. I don't like the war in Iran, but I don't know how negative the consequences are going to be because I don't think they really have the capability to do a lot of harm to us in America. Just to be frank, but I also things could go very sideways, and you could be right about having bad consequences. That's undetermined at this juncture, in my opinion. Also, the fact that he ran on things like affordability, and this was the main thing that people voted based on. I don't know that that was the main thing people voted based on. I think a lot of people voted on A, deportations, and B, the Democrats were clearly throwing the towel in on that election. I think those were big marks. I think also Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, escalating things with Russia and trying to deeper entangle us in that war in Ukraine, that was a big deal. Then he talks about things like the affordability hoax and hasn't done anything to make prices go down. Well, actually, prices did go down. Gas was very low before the war in Iran. And that drives all prices. But I think COVID, the Great Reset that they called it, I think that has set the new floor for prices. Because these companies, whether they're taking advantage of or not, a lot of them seem to be. If they're still making fucking buku bucks, it doesn't behoove them to lower the prices back down. Right? Fuck you, pay me. Right? So I don't know exactly how much control he's got over that, unless he wants to get into consumer advocacy and investigating whether they are gouging prices, which I'd be in favor of. You know, but I didn't vote for Trump on the basis of affordability. That wasn't even in the top 5 of my reasons to vote for him. Long term, he sends in big companies to take over the oil, bringing costs down on everything you buy. I'm sure he's not just doing it for a war. There must be a bigger picture. Well, his rationale for the war was that in the negotiations with Iran, they had indicated to him that they had enough enriched uranium, which they weren't supposed to have, to arm 11 nuclear weapons. That is the story. That's the narrative out of the administration for why it was time to act. That's their narrative. But yes, I agree, Harley, that there's probably a bigger picture. I think oil's part of it. I think also kneecapping China is a big factor in a lot of the decisions that he makes geopolitically. I'm not sure how much he can impact prices, but to do a 180 flip and say that talking about affordability is a hoax seems like a betrayal. Well, that's the thing. The guy is an elaborator, right? I mean, you watch him talk, he's always grandiose, and you know what I mean? Like, that's, I don't know. I take things like that. Is he saying affordability is a hoax? I haven't seen anything about this, but I try to read between the lines of what Trump's saying. You know what I mean? Unless he says something like directly, but a lot of the times he's angling. He's playing he's, you know, I don't want to go into he's playing 4D chess, but a lot of times you can see the reactions to his words, and there's no way he doesn't understand that and use it to his advantage. I don't think there's a big picture he's working towards, especially with the tariffs, how he constantly imposes them, removes them, raises them, etc. I think he's being very reactionary and catering to the big donors' interests in Washington, like the defense contract. I mean, there are definitely instances of him behaving in a reactionary sort of way. I don't like the way he's attacked Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't like the way he's attacked Thomas Massie. I don't like the way he's playing politics with the Epstein list. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, this guy's not a perfect guy, but he was put up against literally a cardboard cutout of a clown. There was no decision to be made, and now we're just along for the ride. I do think there's a bigger picture he's working towards. He has some pretty clear geopolitical goals. And one of them is surpassing China and kind of stopping them from overtaking us on the world stage. Is he catering to big donors and interests in Washington like the defense contractors? I think he's more catering to Israel than anybody else. But they all do, shamefully. Unless there's some sort of information, some little blip nugget of information that I don't see. You know what I mean? That's really who I am looking at as the influence that needs to be removed. That's nothing new. His previous administration was a revolving door, and as soon as someone crosses him, he fires them, then talks shit about them, and they become dead to MAGA. Yeah, well, I understand. Yeah, he's very severe, right? And he's a take no prisoners kind of player in the political game, you know? But he's also said